Ever stared up at the night sky and marveled at the moon, wondering how different life would be if there were two of them? Imagine looking up to see not just one glowing orb, but a celestial dew lighting up the darkness. Sounds spectacular, right? But before you get too carried away with dreamy thoughts of a double moonlit romance, let's dive into the reality of what such a scenario would mean for our planet. It's not all moonlit picnics, and poetic inspiration. Things could get wild. So, what if Earth actually had a twin satellite orbiting alongside our beloved moon? Let's explore the cosmic chaos that might ensue. Earth, not as monogamous as you think. Contrary to what you might assume, our planet has never really been a one-moon kind of rock. It turns out that along with the moon, Earth has a smaller, less glamorous companion, a quasi-satellite. Before you start planning its welcome party, let's set the record straight. This mini-moon is more like an asteroid that just happens to be caught in Earth's gravitational pull. It's not a real, proper moon like the one we know and love. But what if we were to get a real second moon? And not just any moon, but one that was stable, large, and undeniably present in our night sky. Well, funny thing, Earth used to have two moons, at least according to a theory about our planet's formative years. Billions of years ago, a Mars-sized rock named Theia slammed into Earth, scattering debris into orbit. That debris eventually came together to form the moon we see today. However, some scientists believe there might have been two moons orbiting Earth at some point, only for them to collide and merge later on. Talk about a dramatic breakup. But let's say a second moon somehow found its way back into our sky today. What would change? Buckle up, because things are about to get lunar-level crazy. Would we see a second moon? Absolutely, but don't expect it to be a perfect twin of our existing moon. If we assume this new moon is about 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles, wide, and 1/30th the mass of our current moon, it would appear much smaller in the sky, about 1/3 of the size of our existing moon. Still, it would make for a stunning view. Imagine the night sky illuminated by two celestial orbs, casting double shadows, creating eerie moonlit landscapes, and making every werewolf lore enthusiast jump with excitement. But beyond the aesthetics, what really changes? A second moon would alter the way we track time, as our concept of months is based on a single lunar cycle. We might even have to develop an entirely new lunar calendar. Stargazers and astronomers would have a field day studying the gravitational interactions between the two moons. The added moonlight could also make nights brighter, possibly reducing the need for artificial streetlights in some areas. And let's not forget the impact on folklore and mythology. Entire civilizations would reshape their beliefs, traditions, and storytelling around the presence of two moons in the sky. Tides that would make surfers cheer. Tides are directly influenced by the gravitational pull of the moon, so adding a second moon would inevitably stir up the waters. Would we see devastating floods sweeping across coastal cities? Surprisingly, not quite. This new satellite, being much smaller than the moon, would contribute to tides, but not nearly as drastically. The combined gravitational forces would create slightly larger waves, but they wouldn't be tsunami-level destructive. Instead, we'd likely see higher tides and perhaps stronger ocean currents, which might actually be a dream scenario for surfers. Surf's up, everyone. Get ready for some record-breaking waves. Coastal landscapes, however, might slowly change over time as stronger tides reshape shorelines. Marine life, especially creatures that rely on tidal patterns for survival, could experience shifts in their behaviors, potentially leading to new evolutionary adaptations. Fishermen might need to rethink their strategies as changing tides alter fish migration patterns. And while we're at it, beachgoers might find it fascinating or frustrating that high and low tides could vary more frequently, making tide predictions trickier. When moons collide, the slow-motion apocalypse. Just because things start off peaceful doesn't mean they stay that way. Over time, as our moon continues to drift further away from Earth, it's slowly escaping our gravitational pull at about 3.8 centimeters per year. The second moon's orbit would become unstable. And guess what? History would repeat itself. Billions of years ago, if we did have two moons, they likely crashed into each other. If that were to happen again, we'd witness a slow-motion celestial collision. Unlike Hollywood blockbusters where asteroids smash into planets in an explosive blaze, this event would happen at an agonizingly slow pace. The smaller moon would gently, on an astronomical scale, crash into our existing moon, covering its surface with another layer of rocky debris. So, in the end, the new moon would merge into the old one, leaving behind mountain-like structures visible from Earth, the only evidence of its existence. A misshapen, rougher-looking moon with fresh impact scars, basically a lunar facelift. But let's get even bolder. What if this second moon weren't tiny? What if it were the same size as our existing moon, orbiting at half the lunar distance? Well, things would go from mildly inconvenient to civilization-threatening real quick. A double moon disaster. A second moon the same size as our current one but closer to Earth. That's a recipe for disaster. Why? Because the gravitational pull of this supermoon would wreak havoc on our planet. The tides alone would be 8 times higher than they are now, making today's largest waves look like tiny ripples in a pond. That means coastlines would become uninhabitable, as tidal flooding would turn major cities into submerged ruins. Ever thought about what it would be like to live in Atlantis? Well, you'd have no choice. Massive tidal waves, some reaching nearly 300 meters, 1,000 feet high, would regularly crash into the land. Entire ecosystems would be disrupted, marine life would be forced to adapt to extreme tidal shifts, and humans would have to move far inland to survive. Coastal economies relying on fishing and trade would collapse, and once thriving beach destinations would become relics of a lost world. Farmers would also struggle, as the fluctuating sea levels could affect fresh water supplies, turning fertile lands into salty wastelands. Even underground water reserves might become unstable, leading to unpredictable droughts or floods. And if you thought extreme weather events were already bad, just wait until supercharged lunar gravity starts messing with atmospheric patterns, potentially triggering hurricanes of unprecedented scale. But wait, there's more bad news. The ultimate moon showdown, a celestial catastrophe. Just like before, this new moon wouldn't stay peacefully in orbit forever. Over time, the gravitational interactions between the two moons would destabilize their paths. They'd start pulling on each other, engaging in a slow but inevitable dance of destruction. Then, one day, boom, the moons would collide in an apocalyptic celestial crash, sending debris raining down onto Earth. This wouldn't just be a gentle sprinkle of moon dust, we're talking massive, flaming meteorites hurtling toward the planet, wiping out cities, creating global wildfires, and possibly triggering another mass extinction event. The lucky pieces that didn't fall to Earth, they'd form a fresh new ring of debris, potentially creating another moon. The cycle would start all over again, except this time, humans might not be around to witness it. The impact of this collision would likely release an energy blast equivalent to millions of nuclear bombs, causing a global winter by blocking sunlight with thick dust clouds. Temperatures would plummet, crops would fail, and what remained of civilization would struggle to survive. The constant bombardment of falling debris would leave Earth looking like a war zone, reshaping continents and altering the climate for centuries. And if humanity somehow endured, our understanding of the universe and our place in it would be forever changed. So, is having a second moon still sounding like a good idea? Would a second moon be worth it? So, after all that chaos, would a second moon be a good idea? Well, if you love breathtaking night skies, stronger tides, and slightly larger waves, then sure. But if you're not a fan of cataclysmic celestial collisions and the possibility of civilization-ending destruction, then maybe let's just appreciate our single moon and let it do its thing. After all, one moon is already doing a pretty stellar job keeping our planet in balance. No need to get greedy, right? And that, my friends, is why we should probably stick to just one moon, less drama, fewer apocalyptic tidal waves. But hey, if you love this wild ride through cosmic chaos, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on more mind-blowing. And tell us in the comments, would you want a second moon, or are you cool with just one?